for the Untold Radio Network family of shows and join in on the conversation by using super stickers and super chats on YouTube. Got a question you want answered? Ask it live via a super chat and get real-time responses from our show's knowledgeable hosts and guests. Help keep the Untold Radio Network shows running strong. We need your support. Send your super chats and stickers now.
Hi there, you're on Untold Radio, and there's been so many revelations. It's astounding, isn't it?
They're coming thick and fast.
This is episode 34
It
of
is.
Down South Anomalies. Get prepared. We have been told on our captions, people that have been emailing us, is it disclosure or disappointment? You know what? I think at the end of the day, it's primarily entertainment.
It is.
Well, greetings, my friends. Are you interested in the future? Because that's where you're going to spend the rest of your lives. That's actually the words of the incredibly inept predictionist that appeared at the start of Plan 9 from Outer Space called Creswell.
That's right.
Creswell predicts.
Yeah, predicts.
And you are live with, well, live enough.
Yeah, I just remembered one of his predictions. I think it was 1987 that there would be an outbreak of cannibalism in Canada.
And evidently he went round biting people when it didn't happen. Something like that. Anyway, this is episode 34.
Mm-hmm.
We are honored to be part of the astounding Untold Radio Network. This is Down South Anomalies.
Mm-hmm.
My extraordinary wife, Aspasia, and Jay Katz here. We must always remember that we are broadcasting on stolen land.
Mm-hmm.
The Gadigal people of the Eora Nation, and we must pay our respects and acknowledge elders past, present, and emerging. Now, tonight, we have decided not to buy into all the noise attached to the signal out there.
We're just going to give it a little break.
Dr. Stephen Greer has gone crazy
Yeah.
and done an incredible press conference
Again.
out there going, you know, if it's disclosure, let me in. I'm the man that can tell you all about disclosure.
Yeah.
Mr. Grush and his revelations still keep sort of dropping mind bombs, especially in the US, but worldwide.
Mm-hmm.
And our incident there in Las Vegas that occurred on April the 30th.
Yeah, that's gone a
It's
little bit.
just getting stranger
weird.
and stranger and stranger. And what I found out recently is that evidently the Las Vegas Metropolitan Police
Mm-hmm.
have redacted 16 minutes of backyard footage. Now, that was a massive backyard that family
It was,
had.
wasn't it? What was going on there?
Well, supposedly there's 8, 9, 10-foot beings with their big eyes that had
Mm-hmm.
landed, that were running around the backyard, got into the canopy of a backhoe.
Right.
Now, that is too close to home
It
because
is.
we're actually surrounded by these really out-of-control property developers
Mhm.
in our warehouse at the moment that have backhoes over our stairs.
That's right.
So really, in many ways, Aspasia, I don't want to know about that. I want to go to where our topic's leading us this morning.
Mhm.
And that is, are we going to be able to unravel this disclosure? I always go back to that line that you used.
Mm.
And what was that?
Ah.
That every eyewitness report.
Oh, right. Yeah, it's disclosure in very small increments.
It is. And
Yeah.
it's already
And
happened
has been
a
for a
long,
long time.
long time ago. And
Yeah.
that is if you cherish those eyewitness statements that we do and know that the majority of them are from honest, decent, credible people, that something astounding is going on.
Absolutely.
And do we really need government endorsement? Do we
No,
need
we don't.
high-ranking intelligence agents, officials to tell us that we're living in a much more mysterious planet and world than we ever imagined?
Out of the hundreds of thousands, millions of sightings all over the world over the years, this in this modern UFO age, all those people that have seen something, they believe, they know.
Yeah, I mean, they've
So
had a glimpse of another reality.
Disclosure for them was them seeing it with their own eyes. So, it's like whether the government comes out and endorses it or not, for those people, they don't, because they say to you, I know what I saw.
Exactly.
So there you go.
So what we've decided to do is to go where the line has been incredibly blurred for a long, long time. And that is back to our The Flying Saucer Goes, the movies. And this is part 2. We're still in the 50s. We're doing the second half of the 50s. One day we'll get to the 60s, 70s, and 80s. But this is a profound second half of the 50s.
It is.
From 1956 right up to 1959.
So we did from 1950 to
55.
55. So, yeah.
And so many interesting films started occurring. It really started to become part of the subculture.
Absolutely.
And it was that point in the cinema where the monster, like the universal monsters, Frankenstein and werewolf.
The supernatural monster became the man monster.
Well, this is prior to that.
Yeah.
This is where science started to inject in there.
Exactly. Yeah.
And I mean, the interesting thing is that the devastation that happened from the dropping of those 2 nuclear bombs really made Japan get on edge. So I think what we should do is go to our stills, and we'll start with an incredible film from 1956. And look, the other thing I was just going to say about David Grush, am I pronouncing that name?
Grush.
Our whistleblower there is, look at what the interviews with the incredible journalist Leslie Keane and what she had to state. Now, let's just get that little magazine up there so we can get a feeling for the 50s before we start. Look, that's June 1950, already the UFO journals out there. Let's go to
Aliens in the White House. Yeah.
Well, they're saying it all. Let's go to the next magazine down there. Which is just slide down to the next still. That's it. Beautiful. Aspasia. And I get a feeling this might have been, now Dr. Dean Bertram would be able to confirm this. I think this might be one of Ray Palmer's magazines, Flying Saucers from Another World.
Right.
And one of the major influences is a major. The next book, please, is Donald Kehoe.
Kehoe.
Let me pronounce that right. And this particular book influenced so many features in this latter part of the 50s.
Is that on the what do you call it? On the shelves?
Yes, we've got that on the shelves. Yeah. Okay. And this was a time where flying saucer art started to penetrate everywhere as well.
Big time,
let's have a little look at an image of that.
Yeah.
Beautiful stuff.
Oh, I love it.
This was
very Jetsons.
It was the Jetsons future that never occurred.
It's still not here.
But up in Canada, evidently they were working on this device. It was really nothing more than a hovercraft. It really had to be tethered to a cable. It got about 2 or 3 feet off the ground.
With a cable?
Ran for a couple of meters and then collapsed.
And then
Let's get an above aerial shot of that Avro.
It's a gorgeous looking thing. Yeah, absolutely.
But because it didn't have a skirt underneath it, the turbine engines.
The air just dissipated.
It made it really dangerous. So let's go to Warning from Space. The artwork's down there.
Yeah.
Now, this is the first all-color science fiction film out of Japan.
Yeah.
And it's got a bit of a starfish, seafood, alien sort of morphing notion to it.
It does.
Now, you're very good on pronunciation. It was directed by
Koji Shima.
And the interesting thing in this is what parallels here we've got entertainment, we've got supposed escapism,
Yes.
but these people are actually going to UFO reports. They're going to Kehoe's book.
Mm.
They're going to the contactee movement like
Yeah.
Adamski,
Yeah.
and they're getting all ideas. So we can look at the craft here, and we
Mm.
can see the Adamski craft
Yes, it
in
is.
the images
Mm.
in this film. It was produced after the success of Godzilla in 1954.
Mm-hmm.
Evidently, Kubrick saw this and absolutely
Yeah,
adored it.
right. Mm-hmm.
These objects are sighted over Tokyo. Yeah. Go to
Yeah.
the next one. Just you don't even need to
Okay.
question that.
Yeah, yeah.
Look at that beautiful poster.
Yeah, that's
Isn't that incredible? But what we saw in
yeah.
this film
Yeah.
was motherships
Yeah.
releasing smaller anomalous objects.
Scouts.
Yep.
Scouts. Yeah, scout craft.
So again, too,
Mhm.
this film and many films we're going to look at, and let's just go down to one last still there.
Yeah.
Let's go to the trailer.
Mm-hmm.
And the interesting thing is many of these films were actually really inspired by Robert Wise
Mm.
and The Day the Earth Stood Still.
Yeah.
So that message of coming down as benevolent aliens
Mm-hmm.
and
Mm-hmm.
actually wanting to impart a message about the danger of us playing around with nuclear energy.
Yeah.
Now, Arrow Pictures, who have done the William Graffé box set,
Mm-hmm.
have just got this film and remastered it. So if you're interested, please look at the Arrow. Go and purchase it.
Mm-hmm.
And thanks, Arrow. Here's a trailer now.
当然だよ。あの女は人間じゃないんだ。
Wow, that looks incredible. And the other thing is, you've got to realize here, Aspasia, is that
Yes.
they're all discussing way before the tales of abduction and Bud Hopkins.
Mm-hmm.
They're discussing the notion of a hybridization program,
That's right.
primarily targeted at Earth women.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So
It's the whole breeding program thing.
it is
isn't
that
it?
breeding
Yeah.
program.
Yeah.
Now let's
What was going on there?
now I think you might have. Can you go to that still there? It's moved around a little bit. This is a lost film.
Oh, right. Okay.
Yeah, that came directly after, and you were very good on the pronunciation
Oh, right.
of
Okay.
this.
But it's so lost. So it's by
It's written and
Shinichi
directed.
Sekizawa.
Well, it is so lost that no one has seen it since 1956.
Yeah.
But a 16mm print was uncovered in 2010
Yeah.
and sold in an online auction
Mhm.
for 2.1 million yen.
Which is 21,000 Australian dollars.
But it just shows you we may be sitting on a mozza here in the archives.
We
We
might
have
be.
like literally hundreds of 16mm films.
Yeah.
One of them you uncovered recently is lost to
Well,
the world. So
I-
just throw it out there just in case.
Well, I haven't been able to find anyone selling it. I've found posters for it, but there's no one's There's no streaming of it anywhere. You can't buy it anywhere. There's just nobody selling it. It's called American Movie Star LSD I Hate You. So
right.
Anyway.
So if anyone knows anything about that film, get in touch with us immediately. We're sitting on a pristine 16mm print
We
cut
are.
from the original negative.
That's right. So but back to this.
Fearful Attack of the Flying Saucers. I love the title.
So do you know the premise of this one?
Again, this is, they actually come here to warn us about our nuclear tests and the dangers they're causing to our planet and the cosmos itself.
So obviously this film and why it's lost is because it didn't get to the West. And, they didn't dub it in English and send it out to America and the Western world. And so for whatever reason, it just fell by the wayside and it's been lost now. And
you know what?
But they still haven't done a remaster of it, have they?
No. And they were considering a DVD release, but that was in 2011 and no one's heard a thing about it.
Yeah, right.
So maybe someone has shelved it big time. Okay. So let's go to Earth versus the Flying Saucers.
Yep. Let's go.
Yep. Now, this, of course, is an astounding
It's the
film.
classic. It's a classic.
Because it has special effects and stop motion by the one and only Ray Harryhausen. Seventh Voyage of Sinbad. So many other things. The Valley of Guanji. Harryhausen was one of the greatest stop motion after Willis O'Brien. He was the king. Now, it is directed by a friend of ours, Fred F. Sears, a friend in the ether.
Absolutely.
Now, we love Fred because he was one of those directors that could do the B picture as well as the A.
Yeah, but his backstory, his story is more worthy of a film than anything else, I think.
This film was directly, and it cites it, influenced by Donald Kehoe's book that we saw before. Now, let's have a look at one of the translators. I think this is a German poster.
This is the German poster, yeah.
The other interesting thing
I
is
love that one. That's
the
beautiful.
aliens were actually in these suits. But let's have a look at the alien still we've got there.
Yeah.
Because we are getting close to what people say they were seeing. The larger eyes, that thinner head and body. And this is quite remarkable for 1956. It's iconic in its saucer designs, and they match the eyewitness accounts that Kehoe was talking about in his book. Ray Harryhausen actually admitted at the end of the day that he had had a private meeting with George Adamski, discussing the saucers. And the voice of the alien, when they're in those lead-lined sort of suits that they're wearing, which were quite freaky. I remember seeing that as a child and being quite startled by that. The voice of the saucers is one of the greatest voices in the cartoon world is Paul Frees.
Oh, yes.
And so he's got this hovering, wavering voice.
For that, was he?
And as you can see there, our director, he did The Werewolf as well, which we watched recently.
We actually watched it this week.
And it was quite an emotional film, really.
It was, wasn't it?
Yeah. So this had an enormous influence on the genre in cinema. And I think it's the mere fact that Ray Harryhausen, was really, it really impacted people, Ray's work with those sources. And as you can see, this book came out in 1968, but it's still sort of got the remnants of what was happening, that whole saucer attack. And Ray Harryhausen did an astounding thing. He used stock footage, but he matted the saucers over the top.
Right.
And added other things like falling mortar and bricks and things like that. So in the end, basically you have what looked like really extraordinary graphic shots of Washington, D.C. going down and buildings collapsing. All right, let's have a look at the trailer for the astounding.
Can I just say quickly that even though these were, science fiction films and stuff, they were really, collaborating with either people that were looking into UFOs, like Major Donald Kehoe and, Adamski, who was a contactee and out there on the circuit and stuff, and trying to get, these films, even though they were supposed to be science fiction, as authentic.
As close to reality
what
as
was
they
happening and being reported on in the day.
So again, what we've got is this blurring of the line between truth and entertainment.
And exactly. All right. Earth versus flying saucers.
You're on Untold Radio.
Flying saucers have invaded our planet. Washington, London, Paris, Moscow are key targets. The whole world is under attack. Can it survive?
Survivors of a disintegrated solar system. At this moment, the remainder of our fleet is circling your globe.
What do you want with me?
Arrange for your world leaders to confer with us in the city of Washington.
They set up an electronic screen. The artillery doesn't penetrate.
Never before has the screen reached such heights of excitement. Breathtaking spectacle. Hair-raising terror. See the saucer men's high-frequency disintegrators. See flying saucers travel thousands of miles in seconds. See great cities leveled by flying saucer monsters.
Russ, look.
The same kind of thing that's watched us since the beginning of the project.
People of Earth, attention. People of Earth, attention. This is a voice speaking to you from thousands of miles beyond your planet.
They're coming down to take over. They made that clear to us in the saucer. To the best of our knowledge, my wife and I are the only ones left alive.
Well, that turned into the, they're the last ones alive. That's turned into the last man and woman on Earth.
You know what? It feels a bit like that when we're shooting this podcast in here and the noise and extraordinary destruction that's occurring around us.
Yeah.
One of the fascinating things you would have seen there in that trailer is the notion of orbs and UFOs being together at the same time.
Yeah, exactly.
So where we're going to next is probably one of the most profound films out of the 50s, one of the most memorial and so beautiful and big budget, like Robert Wise, The Day the Earth Stood Still. Thank you to MGM. Fred M. Wilcox here was the director of the one and only Forbidden Planet, starring Walter Pidgeon and Francis and Leslie Nielsen. And it's been compared to a sort of stilted, edited version of Shakespeare's The Tempest.
Yes.
And it had so many things in it that would become tropes in science fiction
Robbie
in
the
the
Robot
future.
was introduced.
Well, it was the progenitor for many science fiction films, and one of them was Faster Than Light Starships.
Right.
The C-57D intergalactic cruiser there is one of the most beautiful saucer designs you have seen ever on the screen. Robbie the Robot also was really unique. And I'll tell you, not just the design and being one of the most expensive props in the day ever purchased for a film, if not the most expensive.
Was it
coming
designed
in at
by Japanese?
Yeah,
it
who went on
was.
to design the Lost in Space robot.
Yeah.
I think it cost around $125,000
Back in the day.
its day.
Wow,
back
that's
in
a lot
its
of
day.
money.
But the one astounding thing about Robbie the Robot, he became a very strong supporting cast member. He had a distinct personality.
Absolutely.
And that was not something you'd seen in robots appearing on the screen beforehand. They were just like tin cans that were slightly mobile.
Yeah.
And Robbie went on to be reused in so many series.
Over and over again, yeah.
Mork and Mindy, Love Boat, Wonder Woman, UFO, Lost in Space, The Banana Splits, and the ill-fated short-lived series Ark by Filmation.
Yeah, right.
So
well, they
if you
really got their money's worth out of him.
Did they ever? You know what? This was one of the first ever stereophonic presentations of sound in the cinema, which must have been quite remarkable.
Yeah.
And the sound was the one and only Lewis
right.
and Bibi
Yes,
Barone,
yes.
pre-Robert Moog,
Mhm.
pre-synthesizers,
Yep.
electronic tonalities. They weren't allowed to go for an Academy Award because there was no category for that.
Mhm.
And some people were absolutely horrified that it was even considered a soundtrack.
Yeah,
But
right.
what it was,
Mhm.
it was not just a soundtrack. It was extraordinary sound design,
Right.
pioneering itself into this great piece of cinema. Of course, Lewis and Bibi Barone had an astounding abstract career. They'd already worked with people like John Cage,
Mhm.
and they were actually building all their own equipment. They had what Bibi, the wife, would
Mhm.
call self-exploding circuits. So that's Lewis heated up the rectifiers and the valves to such an extent that they had to record really rapidly
Right.
before they actually blew up themselves. Now, Anne Francis's outfits in this,
Oh, her dresses are gorgeous.
but they were deemed completely obscene in some countries. And can you believe it, in Spain,
Mhm.
thanks to maybe the regime, the Catholicism over there,
Yeah, right.
they actually banned the film.
Oh, really?
They
Because
saw-
of her skirt? Because
they
of those
saw
long
the
tops
mini
that she wore?
skirts as just too much.
Too many. Okay, fair enough.
Now, did you know that there is an Australian link to this film
What's
in
that?
a big way?
Mm.
And that is in 1956, just
Mm.
directly after the movie,
Mm.
it was adapted for the Caltex Radio Theatre. And there is a Forbidden Planet radio version that is distinctly Australian. And you and I will have to search
we're
that
gonna have
out
to
and find
that
it.
one. Absolutely.
It was an inspiration for Star Trek.
Yeah.
And in 2000, in the early 2000s,
Mm.
they were trying desperately to remake this. And so they went to James Cameron,
Right.
hoping that they would do this. Now, let's go down to the trailer.
Yeah.
And if you haven't seen Forbidden Planet, then you're not living on planet Earth.
Yeah.
But you do
Yeah.
need to see this film. It is probably one of the most important science fiction films of the 50s, and it still holds up today.
It does.
And you know what the truth is
What's
of
that?
this? Is that the greatest thing we're fighting against is ourselves.
Ah, yes, always.
Imagine yourself as one of the crew of this faster-than-light spaceship of the future, sharing their curiosity to know the unknown, their tension, their readiness for inconceivable adventures.
Sir, we're being radar scanned. United Planets Cruiser C-57D, J.J. Adams commanding. Who are you?
Morbius of the Bellerophon.
Dr. Morbius, my orders are to survey the situation on Altair 4.
Commander, if you set down on this planet, I warn you that I cannot be answerable for the safety of your ship or your crew.
When you reach the Forbidden Planet, you will meet Dr. Morbius, played by Walter Pidgeon. The doctor is sole owner of this fabulous world. Anne Francis is his alluring daughter, Alta, who has never seen a young man till she meets Commander Adams, played by talented Leslie Nielsen.
Martin,
Didn't bring my bathing suit.
what's a bathing suit?
Oh, murder.
You will meet a charming character in The Robot, able to produce on order 10 tons of lead or a slinky evening gown. Always at your service.
It must be the loveliest, softest thing you've ever made for me. And fit in all the right places. With lots and lots of star sapphires.
Star sapphires take a week to crystallize properly. Would diamond or emeralds do?
You explore all the wonders of a vanished civilization. You travel deep down into the heart of the Forbidden Planet to discover the incredible marvels of this lost genius race. These magnificent scenes in striking Eastman color stagger the imagination.
20 miles. Look down, gentlemen. Are you afraid? 7,800 level.
Yet the wonders of the planet Altair 4 conceal a strange and evil force, unknown, irresistible.
Wow, what a beautiful film.
It's an amazing
You know what?
film.
In many ways, it actually sort of pre-told the future there with digital music when it comes to the music of the Krell. Remember that? It was like on a solid steel ball and you put it in a digital player and away it went.
Yeah.
So please go and search that film out. It is astounding. Now, probably one of the most, we've been going on and on about this film.
Oh my God.
This is one of the most,
with this one, but anyway.
this is one of the most important and neglected documentaries ever made on the subject. UFO, The Truth About Flying Saucers. It's a full-length documentary, and there is an incredible piece up online by Red Panda Koala. Please go and look at this. It's called Invisible Light, the first UFO movie ever made, the most historically significant UFO movie, by Clarence Green and Russell Rose. Now, Clarence had done Dead on Arrival, which has become like a cult sort of noir film.
Noir film, yep.
But Robert Barrow is the gentleman who did extensive research, citing this as he believes to be one of the most important movies ever made. So go and look up Robert Barrow's research. He interviewed a lot of people connected to this. Many of the original Blue Book personnel served as technical advisors on the film. Clarence Green himself in 1952 had a sighting. He was quite a skeptic, but he'd had a sighting, and that led to him to investigate and find the chief of the press corps at Wright-Patterson Air Force Base, who'd recently left there, Al Chomp. Now, Chomp was rumored to have actually spoken to Werner von Braun about the reality of these objects. And Chomp worked alongside of Edward Ruppelt. And Ruppelt was the gentleman that actually termed the UFO, unidentified flying object. Chomp, during his time, because it actually follows the story of Chomp, the film itself, that's the skeleton line. It's a bit like Jim Garrison and Oliver Stone's JFK. And Chomp firsthand saw the suppression of ufological information to the public by the Air Force. He was transferred to the press corps of the Pentagon, and he also saw that suppression by General Stanford. Donald Kehoe, he was in there big time. He was the founding member of NICAP, which was one of the first major ufological research organizations ever. Yes, so what we're going to do now is go to the astounding trailer. Please look this film up. Look up the work of Robert Barrow, and let's have a look at the trailer. And remember, the original 1956 print has 2 films analyzed by the Air Force at the time, Tremonton, Utah, and Great Falls, Montana. And the Air Force actually stated, like they did with Roswell, that these were anomalous objects. But we're going to look at the trailer, aren't we?
Yes, we are.
Let's look at the trailer.
to Captain Mantell. Investigate an unidentified object in your area.
What the hell are we looking for?
I see it. Above and ahead of me. I'm trying to close in for a better look.
Here is the real flying saucer story. You will see with your own eyes actual motion pictures of flying saucers. Scenes that were stamped top secret by the Pentagon. These films have never before been shown to the general press and public. These men are about to see actual motion pictures of flying saucers. You will see them too in unidentified flying objects. You'll meet the men who lived every terrifying moment of the flying saucer story as it actually happened and is still happening. This is Captain Willis Sperry, an airline pilot, giving an official account of his sighting of unknowns.
The object was flying head-on at us. It was 50 times the magnitude of the brightest star.
Warrant Officer Clement Newhouse, chief photographer, U.S. Navy, who filmed a group of flying objects in Utah.
How would you describe these objects?
They had a metallic appearance. They seemed to be made of some kind of polished metal, like two saucers, one inverted over the other.
Red Dog 1 to Washington Control.
We are in the radar room at National Airport, Washington, D.C. on July 26, 1952. For the first time, unidentified flying objects have been sighted over the nation's capital.
I see them. They're all around me. They're moving in on me. They're coming closer. They're coming right at me.
And so Al Chomp was there in the Capitol in 1952 when for 2 weekends
they were buzzed.
They were buzzed big time, and people thought there was an invasion. And at one stage, we actually interviewed, maybe 20 years ago, the son of the Secretary to the Secretary of Defense, who said that his mother would come home shaking
every day,
believing
freaking out
that this was literally the end of the world.
Yeah.
And that stuff leaked into the mainstream press at the time. And, you know, it's contradictory to the notion of, well, why don't they land on the White House lawn?
They almost did.
Buzzed the White House for 2 weekends, big time.
And that wasn't enough.
And they would actually send fighter jets in there. Those fighter jets would be surrounded by objects. And when it got really crucial, those objects would disappear. And we're hearing similar stories to what we hear now of the F-18 Super Hornet pilots, which is the mere fact that they seem to be aware of what the pilot was vectoring towards.
Absolutely.
Anyway, let's go to one of the most iconic and frightening films of 1956, Invasion of the Body Snatchers by Don Siegel. Now, Don Siegel was a great director. He directed one of your favorite films ever, Now Voyager.
Yes.
He also directed a very controversial short film that I was considering of playing, and maybe in the future we will, but it's just so controversial that we probably can't.
Which one?
It's 20 minutes. It's called Hitler Lives. And it was made in 1945.
Right.
And it was, well, I'm not going to go into that. We'll discuss that at some further stage. This film was shot in Superscope.
Yeah.
It was larger than CinemaScope. And Don was really upset with that. Because
what did that mean, Superscope?
Superscope meant, I think it was like an even larger screen than CinemaScope.
Wow.
2.00 ratio instead of 1.8. I'm not sure what I'm talking about
there.
So
were there screens to actually accommodate that?
Not many. And also Don was really upset because what it did was it took the clarity out of the film. They were pushing it too far.
Right.
And the other thing about this film is it had really incredible film styling. It starred Kevin McCarthy and Dana Winter. And here's the great story about this.
What's that?
There might be no flying saucer in this film, but we thought we'd add this because in many ways what this talks about is panspermia.
Yeah, right.
Which is what most scientists discuss as a way that an alien spore can actually
Or an
go and
invasion,
transform a planet.
Exactly.
And so these alien spores come down and turn into large pods. And it takes over the personality and thoughts and bodies and transforms into anyone that's sleeping near these spores.
So it takes them over.
So I think in a way, this notion of like, do you really know who you're married to, who you're with, who your relatives,
or is
what
the
they're
person you're with
capable
the
of?
person you're really with?
It was a 24-day shoot,
Yep.
and it cost less than $500,000.
Right.
One of the small cast members in this, before the explosive directing career, was Sam Peckinpah.
Oh, really?
Yep.
Wow.
It's based on the Jack Finney novel, The Body Snatchers.
Yeah.
And it was very allegorious. People still say this is a huge polemic, this film, about the dangers of turning a blind eye to McCarthyism. It's one of the most multifaceted horror films ever made.
Yep.
And thematically, it's very similar to a film we're going to look at here that is really creepy called I Married a Monster from Outer Space.
Okay.
Now, I didn't marry a monster from outer space, but some nights I certainly feel like I did. Let's go to the trailer.
On. You're next.
You're next, and thank you then, Paramount. Oh, that is really frightening, that scene.
It is. It
He's
is.
running through the traffic.
Yeah.
It's unbelievable.
Yeah. I actually do like the Donald Sutherland version as well,
Yeah,
which
what
is
was that, the
1978.
I think.
Yeah.
I don't think they did a
80s?
bad
Yeah,
job
they did a
there
really good
as
job,
well,
actually.
but you need to go back to the original source.
Yeah,
All
absolutely.
right, let's go to 1957. We've jumped a year.
Well, that was like 1956. All those films were 1956. That 1956 was a bumpy year for
But let me tell you what
UFOs.
happens now.
What?
It goes downhill.
Oh, yeah.
Something
It's-
happened, and maybe the government put the clampers on things.
Put the brakes on
especially-
it, going, okay, that's enough.
Especially after UFO. But the next film, William Milton Asher, did the 27th Day. He did a lot of television, tons of television.
Yeah.
But his claim to fame was being married to the extraordinary Elizabeth Montgomery.
Oh, right, okay.
And this is a novel adaptation by a novel of the same name by John Mantley. Now, Mantley, I think it is, excuse my pronunciation.
Okay.
We'll go to the trailer, but the premise here again is like these aliens have come to the planet. They know that we are a problem.
Yeah.
And they cannot, it's against their protocol to eradicate us.
Right.
So, like the Twilight Zone episode,
They make us
the monsters
eradicate each
enjoy-
other.
Yes.
Wow.
So let's go down to the
And
trailer.
that's easy enough to do with us, isn't it?
Well, we're always fighting.
We're
amongst
always
ourselves.
fighting each other for no reason, let alone if they
In
give
all
us
these
a
films
reason.
of Anomalous Search, there's so much conflict. So the
Yeah.
27th
Yeah.
day, you're
Yeah.
on Untold Radio. The Flying Saucer Goes to Movies, episode
Part
34.
2.
Yeah.
In just a few moments, these five, American newspaperman, English bathing beauty, German scientist, Russian soldier, Chinese peasant girl, will be given the power to destroy every human being on Earth. What will they do? What will their governments force them to do? What would you do?
Each of the capsules has a diameter of lethal radiation, which is exactly 3,000 miles. There is then, in the combined capsules, more than enough power to wipe out all human life on your planet. People of Earth, I am an alien from outer space.
Don't say anything. I thought you'd never make it.
How long are we going to stay here, just hiding like hunted animals?
You don't think I like hiding, do you?
We've been here 10 days. We've managed to disagree on every one of them.
Actually, we've had all the disadvantages of marriage without any of the advantages.
Jonathan, stop.
But it's true.
It's time I went to bed.
Demand is hereby made for the immediate withdrawal of all American forces and civilians on land, sea, and air
to within the limits of continental United States on pain of total war.
human being alive will die unless science solves the riddle of the destruction capsules from outer space before the 27th day.
Answer me, Klaus. Where are they?
I've launched them.
Soon the world will be ours.
I think that's a bit of an underrated film.
Yeah,
that one.
I have to re-see
You've
that. I
never
haven't seen
it?
it for a while.
Oh,
No, I have
love it.
seen it, but it's been quite a while. I need to
Jim
refresh
Barry
my
there,
memory.
who was in War of the Worlds and went on to do the TV series Burke's Law,
Yes,
does
that's right.
a magnificent job. But
does.
it's a particularly sort of it stays
It's
with
a
you,
poignant-
that film.
yeah.
All right, let's go to something completely absurd from the people that brought us American International Pictures. Don't you love the
AIP.
artwork for
Oh
this?
my God.
But also the big-eyed, big-headed
yeah.
alien is there.
But it's a plant-based one, this one, isn't it?
Well, I'm not sure about
It
that.
looks like a plant to me. It looks very Venus
just the
Venus
green.
flytrappy to me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It was directed by Edward L. Kane and adapted to the screen from the novel The Cosmic Frame, written by Paul W. Fairman. Now, Forrest J. Ackerman owned the rights to this.
Right.
And he had purchased them through his Forrest Ackerman Science Fiction Agency, which would have been at Clifton's Cafeteria.
Yes, it would have
when
been.
we went to LA there, and which is amazing. Schlockmeister Larry Buchanan remade this film as the Eye
Look how
Creatures.
amazing they are.
Oh, they're incredible. They're beautiful.
Yeah.
And I can't help but feel that it wasn't so much the Mars Attack cards that Tim Burton used for Mars Attack.
But
He
this film,
looked at these.
I think so.
These are the most remarkably overblown aliens you could ever imagine.
Yeah, for sure.
This is the quintessential. Let's go to the trailer.
Yep.
This is the quintessential teenagers versus the aliens. You know, you're out on a late night. You're out on a late night date.
Yep.
And this thing can appear when you're smooching your girlfriend in your car.
Hello, police headquarters? This is Carter, Johnny Carter.
Oh, sure, they're from another planet.
What a dilemma for young lovers Steve Terrell and Gloria Castillo.
You thought I was kidding him.
Nobody will believe the invasion of the saucer men. All this makes it seem natural for a beer-drinking bull to appoint himself chaperone of Lover's Lane.
Hey, for Pete's sake!
And a farmer with the longest shotgun you've ever seen plays the villain.
What's so funny?
Well, I expected to be frightened on my wedding night, but nothing like this.
It's our busy night, too. We've been flooded with calls from people who say they've seen flying saucers and little green monsters. Wonder how that rumor ever got started.
It's too fantastic to believe.
Just think of it. Only this special unit and the President of the United States will know what happened here tonight.
You mean you think we know what's happened?
It's like an early version of 24 there. There's the Sutherland connection again.
Yeah.
And because it all happens over the course of one evening, and unfortunately, the humor is so
It overrides the horror. There's barely any
vapid,
horror.
and it just doesn't work at all.
Yeah.
The humor does not work at all.
No.
Now let's go to Ishiro Honda, the
Yes.
man who gave us a big uplift in Western culture
He
with
did.
Godzilla.
Godzilla, yeah.
And this is a startling
And
film.
one of my most favorite Japanese science fiction horror films, Attack of the Mushroom People.
Yeah, what the
Or
incredible
Matungo.
film. I wonder what
Yeah.
Terence McKenna would have said about that film. Anyway, The Mysterions is an epic. This is an astounding film.
Yeah.
And again, it touches on the abduction topic big time. Alien
yeah.
race attend to mate with human women and settle our planet. It is a hybrid program.
Yeah.
In Japan, this became one of the biggest cult films ever made.
Yeah.
And it is absolutely a gorgeous thing to look at.
Yeah.
But we dare play the trailer
No,
here
we're not gonna
because
play.
there are
They will-
thousands of
they will
Toho
rip us down.
nanobots. Yeah, so we
Yeah.
are not going there. So
Yeah.
where we're going to next, please check out The Mysterions. I'm sure you can actually watch it online, primarily because a lot of these films, I know that doesn't, but a lot of them do sit in public domain.
Yeah.
Let's go to one of
You
the
can go and see. Have a look at the trailer online. It's fascinating.
one of the
Anyway.
freakiest films ever made by Gene Fowler Jr., the director. He was an editor for Fritz Lang and Sam Fuller.
Wow.
Gene Fowler.
Okay.
Do you know this movie? You need to see it. I think we need to screen it.
I don't know if
Tom
I've actually
Tyrone
seen
and
it.
Gloria Talbot.
Mm.
Now, this is really a freaky film. When you start to realize very early into the marriage that there's something different to the person you married.
Yeah, right.
They're not really the person you believe them to be. Now, how many people have found themselves in that situation?
Well,
So it may
you
be
know.
an allegory for the notion of the sociopath, the
Exactly.
psychopath.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
it was also one of the most sexually tense films to ever hit the screen in the 50s.
Right.
It doesn't
Whoa.
stop with its sexual tension. And there's the husband in the dressing gown,
Not looking so hot.
getting
now.
ready to defrock as an alien. So let's have a look at the trailer for the one and only, the astounding, the much neglected and not spoken about enough.
So is he down here to mate with women again?
Yes.
Okay.
So the hybrid program just never got into actually the research till virtually decades later.
Yeah,
You know,
absolutely.
but it is all throughout the film history, which
Mhm.
is just astounding.
Yep.
So let's now take a look at the trailer for I Married a Monster from Outer Space. That was a highly controversial film for its day.
Absolutely.
And still is, but it's very much neglected. I hope you go and check out From the Shout Factory that DVD and purchase it. It is a remarkable film to add to your collection.
So
And-
look, every time they made a film like that these aliens were going to mate with women from Earth, did they know at the time that they actually had to be of the same? You know, they had to have the same DNA to be able to mate with them. Because if
But
you're
what about
a
the
totally
RH
different,
negative?
well, no. But if you're a totally different species to, you know, you kind of can't mate two different species together. It's not going to happen.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? So what were they thinking? Were they saying to us?
Maybe
that
they were part of us.
Sorry?
Maybe they were part of
That,
us.
well, they
which-
had to
is that
be.
what
Their
sort of
DNA
features-
has to be
Is that
compatible
feature
to
in Ray
ours.
Fowler's research? Does it feature in Bud Hopkins'
I don't know.
research?
Yes, it does. Well, it
Yeah.
has to. It has to because you can't actually make two different species. If their DNA is not compatible, it ain't going to happen.
Okay, let's
They're
go
just having
to
sex for fun then.
a film
Yes.
that is probably way below.
Well, it seems to be like we're on a really downward slope.
We
here,
are.
aren't we?
But is this film
know-
way below Ed Wood? Is this from the missing Ed Wood? This film was made, can you believe this? It must be the lowest budgeted feature in the world to be distributed into the mainstream by Warner Brothers.
Yeah. It cost $14,000. But I mean, that was a substantial amount of money in 1959.
Not that much, believe me.
Not for a film, but for somebody who was obviously the guy who was making it.
Tom,
Where is it? Sorry.
written and directed by the one and only,
Oh.
and this was his only feature. Tom
Graft, yeah.
Yes. Now, Tom Graft is a lost story to history,
He
but a
is.
story that should be explored. He was a rather
They
tragic
should make
figure.
a documentary on him.
They really do. It was filmed in 56 and 57, but not released in 59.
Mhm.
He did everything, Tom. He was a cinematographer.
Mhm.
He was the special effects. He wrote, directed, and acted. He did all the music. He also did his own craft services, which I
Literally a
wear
one-man
were
band.
sandwiches with craft cheese on them. And he employed guerrilla tactics,
Wow.
like going around and lying to people that he was a university student training in film that needed their house and their electricity to shoot locations on.
Wow. Okay.
He
Well, that's
br-
how he was able to make
He
it.
even built his own sound syncing machine because he did very little actual sound recording at the time and got the actors to sync their voices later on. He
Wow.
called it the cinematograph machine. Yeah.
Okay.
1959, unfortunately, the beautiful Tom had a major breakdown.
Did he?
Yeah.
Oh, right. Okay.
As you can see there, they're
Mm.
wearing jumpsuits with a
Mm.
bit of Velcro attached.
V, yeah.
And the ray guns were actually purchased down at what you call is probably the 10-cent store at the
Okay.
time, would be
Well,
the
they
dollar
worked.
store today.
Yeah.
And the effects artists that he brought in to help him, they couldn't afford to do any opticals. So what he did was cut a little piece of glass
Mm.
and put it on the front there. And when the sun shone on that glass,
sparkled.
it looked like it was the ray gun
Working.
effect.
Wow.
But in 1959,
Mm.
he was also in love with the major star.
Which
Now,
is this
Tom-
guy on the screen now?
Yeah,
Yeah.
Tom, and that's David Love, I think. Tom
Right.
actually played the reporter in this film.
Oh, okay. Okay.
And I think in the end that his sort of that relationship went to bits.
Okay.
Tom had a major breakdown
Oh.
and then took out a major ad in
Oh, that's right,
Variety
he did.
announcing that he was Jesus Christ
Mm.
2. Put the 2 in front of
Okay.
it.
Well, he wasn't claiming the original, at least.
And that didn't get across enough. So he took out another major ad in Variety.
No.
And that had no effect at all.
Yeah.
So later on, I
Mm.
think a year later, he took his life. Carbon
Oh, poor
monoxide.
thing.
So this is a very unique and tragic film.
Mhm.
Many people say it is an astounding achievement for the money. And it has moments that elevate itself.
Yeah.
And it is a very sincere,
Absolutely.
melancholy
Yeah. Yeah.
love story of an alien and a female girl on Earth.
That are not going to get it together.
Unrequited. No, they're
Yeah.
not. Let's
Yeah.
have a look at the trailer. And you know what? This film,
Mm.
Warner Brothers would not renew the rights on this
Yeah.
in 1987. So it's in public
It's
domain.
totally in public
Each and
domain.
every one of us own a copy of this forever. Go and look at it. You can screen it anywhere you wish.
I actually love this film. This when I first saw it, I was like quite astounded by it and touched by it. But anyway, here we go.
Instructions are to prepare for an attack unknown enemy.
That's what he meant.
Hey, who do you think you are, anyway?
Answer me, or I destroy.
Up.
There's something behind this, something we don't understand. The weapon he uses, it's unheard of, blasting flesh right off the bone.
Master control to set flight pattern to -0.08. Increase speed.
They're coming right at us! Down inside the cave!
You know what? Some people say that could be one of the worst films ever made.
It's
I don't
not.
think it is.
It's
I don't think
not.
it is. And I think it
Completely,
actually
it's
is a
not.
really inspiring film.
Yeah.
It's quite astounding and it's very sad. So we are going.
So that was Tom in the hat.
That was
in
Tom
that
in the
scene
hat.
with
There
the
is
two
the
guys
reporter.
talking. Yeah,
Yep.
yeah.
And the unrequited love.
And he
there.
was in love with the
With the
lead,
major star.
the lead teenager who looked like he was about 35.
I think now, if I recall correctly, I could get this wrong. The major protagonist in the saucer was called Thor,
Mm-hmm.
and the love interest,
Mm.
David Love,
Yeah.
was called Derek.
Oh,
now,
right,
what
okay.
sort of a name is that for an
Well,
alien
no.
coming to
Derek.
this world? So we are going to go to the infamous, the
Yeah.
so well-known, the one and only. It's very Shakespearean and
Very, yeah,
insane, but it
yeah.
also is made by a joyous heart
Yeah.
and a crazy individual.
Mhm, mhm.
Plan 9 from Outer Space
Yeah.
by Ed Wood Jr. comes in
Yeah.
as our final film
Yeah.
for the 50s, 1959, utilizing footage shot quite a while before of Bela Lugosi,
Yeah.
bringing in the incredible Vampira,
Yeah.
who was the precursor to Elvira,
Elvira,
and she
yep.
was already a TV horror host.
Yeah,
She
hostess, yeah.
refused to do any dialogue. What dialogue was she going to do when she was a zombie anyway?
Yeah, well, that's right.
She said that Ed Wood's script was so inept that she would just
best not
walk
to
around
speak.
and mime, and
Fair
she
enough.
brought a certain candor to the film
She
that was
did.
quite astounding.
Mhm.
Uh,
Was it Tor Johnson? that
yeah,
played
Tor Johnson, the wrestler,
yeah.
is in there who has difficulty getting out of the grave when
Yeah,
he's reanimated.
yeah.
They actually had the local church throw in some money there. That's why they couldn't call it Gravediggers from Outer Space. That was his first title.
Yeah.
It is one of the most inept films you could ever imagine, but it's one of the most joyous.
It is.
And there are moments, again, where real flying saucer information was put into this film.
Mhm.
But let's have a
Though
look
you wouldn't know it.
at the first model kit that was used for the flying saucers.
Mhm.
They actually removed the green alien in that kit
Yeah,
and
right.
just had the dome there.
All right,
But I
okay,
think
yeah.
this kit came out by the Lindbergh Company in 1952,
Mm.
and they were the saucers that Ed Wood Jr. used. And look, if I can digress back to Teenagers from Outer Space,
Mhm.
Ed had 3 of those saucers.
Yeah.
Tom only had 1 skeleton.
Yeah, right.
But
Okay,
it-
wait, hey,
a dog skeleton, a human skeleton,
That's all
and
he
it just
needed.
kept reappearing.
but it worked.
Yeah, it certainly
worked.
did
It didn't
work.
look like, he was in the car, he was on the ground, he was in the pool. There's a pool scene. I love the pool scene. The pool scene's the best. Anyway.
Ed Wood, and I mean, really have a look at Tim Burton's film, but it's a very sanitized, romantic version of Ed Wood, who
Yeah.
disintegrated by the late 60s and was
Yeah.
doing some of the worst softcore you could ever imagine just to get by.
Yeah.
Wrote lots of sort of transsexual serial killer books under pseudonyms.
didn't he?
Yes,
Yeah.
So
Yes.
fascinating characters. Should we go to the trailer
Yes,
and
we
have a
should.
look at the one and only Plan 9 from Outer Space?
And that's 1959, so that's
Yes.
the last of the.
It's the
that's
very
the
last
50s
one. Yeah.
done.
That's the 50s
for
done.
The
For
flying saucers go to the
flying-
movies.
Well, the flying saucer goes
Yeah.
to the movie. Plan 9.
It is safe to state that the grandchildren of some of the people in this dinner will not be born on Earth. They come from the bowels of hell, a transformed race of walking dead, zombies guided by a master plan for complete domination of the Earth. Plan 9 from outer space. Starring the most nightmarish cast ever, Bela Lugosi, the seductive Vampira, and Tor Johnson as the Walking Dead.
Turn off your electrode gun. No! No! Stop him, Dennis! I can't get it. It's jammed. Stop him, you fool!
Bullets bounce off their bodies. Rockets, missiles, jets cannot stop their death ships. What earthly power can stop this terror? For a glimpse of things to come, see this blast of screen suspense. For it could be happening right now.
When you think about it, some truth in those films.
You know what? You
And a
kinda
lot
know-
of eccentric insanity.
You kind of know the level of filmmaking when you see a plastic skeleton. you know it can't be that good.
Yeah. Well, I don't know if
I
it's
love
that bad
look, I
either.
love those films. I really do. I just adore them for their whimsical,
It's David
notion.
versus Goliath.
It
I mean, at
is.
one stage there, Edward was evidently sleeping in a phone booth because he had no money, but he was still shooting that
Yeah.
damn film on the
There you
smallest soundstage in all of Hollywood.
Yeah.
And he created, look, he was like Bela Lugosi's friend. They used to sort of, he'd have a drink, Bella would shoot up the formaldehyde and then run around the graves late at night and watch reruns on television. There was
Wow.
no one else there for Bella in
No.
the end.
Well,
And
thank
as,
God Ed was there.
as it was, how he lured Vampira into that film
Yeah.
was to say that it was Bela Lugosi's last film.
Oh, right, okay.
And I don't think she was even aware that Bella had died. And
Yeah, 'cause he did. He
Bella
died in
was
the midst of it.
replaced in some
Yeah.
scenes by the
Air condi-
orthodontist.
Oh, the
Ortho-
chiropractor.
Chiropractor, that's right.
yeah.
Who was about a foot taller than Bella and didn't look a thing like him. But
Well,
he
it doesn't
was
matter
there.
if you keep your cape over your face like that. You're good to go.
So the 1950s, it's a mixed bag. You've got some
It is a
incredible moments there,
Yeah.
like Invasion of the Body Snatchers, Forbidden Planet,
Yeah.
and then you've got some incredibly inept moments.
Mm.
But the line had already
Yeah.
appeared
Mhm.
where the truth and entertainment were becoming
Melding.
one.
Yeah.
And
yeah.
sort of that's why I'm wearing the pro NASA
NASA. Yeah.
outfit today. It's just too much. We've been surrounded by madness here trying to survive in our building.
Yeah.
It's like bunker down and shut the doors. They've been trying to remove our staircase, haven't
I
they?
know.
We had the
Anyway.
Land Environment Court through. We actually had a court case live in our building
our house,
this week.
yeah, it was
Anyway, we're
bizarre.
still alive. We're still
Yeah.
going forward. And as you can see, we're happy and in love because we both married monsters from outer space.
We did.
Look, the 50s was an interesting time. It was
Mhm.
very innovative. Let's have a listen to an incredible, what they called cut-ins
Mhm.
that would later on become sampling, culture jamming, all sorts of stuff.
Yeah.
Let's
It's 1956.
1956. Let's have a little listen to this.
What was
Just
it
a little
called?
taste
The
of it.
Flying-
The Flying Saucer.
We interrupt this record to bring you a special bulletin. The reports of a flying saucer hovering over the city have been confirmed. The flying saucers are real.
Well, I feel what my heart can't conceal.
That was the Clatters recording. Too real. We switch you now to our on-the-spot reporter downtown.
Come on, baby, let's go downtown.
Take it away, John Cameron.
This is John Cameron downtown. Pardon me, madam. Would you tell our audience what would you do if the saucer were to land? Duck back in the air! Thank you. And now the thin gentleman there.
What I'm gonna do is hard to tell.
The gentleman with the guitar. What would you do, sir?
Just take a walk down the street.
Thank you. We return you now.
This is Brett, your outer space disc jockey, with a request for Earth.
Earth angel.
That was the Pelicans.
Okay,
That was
so
the Pelicans.
that goes on for like 4 minutes. It's an
and
amazing.
that's part one. And
Yeah.
there were many of them, but that really, in a way, was sort of talking about the future as well.
Exactly.
It's pre-sampling.
Yeah.
It's
Pre-cut
really
up.
culture jamming.
Yeah,
It's
big
quite
time.
an astounding thing. It's
Mhm.
not pre-cut up. I mean,
Well,
the dataist,
no,
Brian
but I mean,
Geisen, but
yeah.
but sound-wise.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, it's really innovative and interesting. And of
Mhm.
course, it took the flying saucer to inspire that.
Yeah.
Now, you've been on Untold Radio. This is Down South Anomalies. My name's Jay Katz. My wife, of course, is the beautiful Aspasia. And in the midst of those revelations that are coming out of the States
Mm.
and Las Vegas and the 16 minutes of redacted backyard footage, George Knapp.
Did you hear the reason why? Like when they first went into the backyard of that,
They said it was privacy.
Yeah, well, they said they had to turn it off because it was private property. It was
Yeah.
like, well, when they used to do that other show, when the police used to, what was the name of that show?
You just turned around. You're actually
Sorry.
tearing there.
What was the
Don't
name of that
kill us.
other show? That show that they used to
Cops.
Yeah, Cops. Well, if they turned off the camera every time they went into somebody's private property,
There'd be no program.
There'd be no program. And it's like, what do you mean it's private property?
Look, I guess this will all play out.
Yeah.
Because greetings, my friends. The future is where we're going to spend the rest of our lives.
Yeah.
And we will find out what's happening. But look, as far as we're concerned, and, you know, Stephen Greer just ran there like a bull and a red cake, you know.
Yeah.
It's like, don't get too overexcited. Just sit back and see where the chips will fall.
Just watch it
We've had
unfold.
many, many smoking guns in the past. I think that Leslie Keane is correct. This is different because this time stuff has been given to Congress, and hopefully Congress will act on it if they aren't aware of it. You sound a little bit tainted there. Anyway, this has been episode 34. And as I said before, you're on the Untold Radio Network, which is an important network. And now that network is offering you so many incentives to become part of this incredible 11 podcasts that go out every week. We heard Michael Cremo, one of our heroes from Forbidden Dark. That was one of the best interviews I've ever heard.
Absolutely.
Thank you, Doug and Alex.
Yeah, that
one
was
of the
a
most
great
exciting
interview.
programs.
It was awesome.
And you know what was so beautiful about Cremo is that he can actually do everything. He's open to everything. It doesn't matter whether the earth is flat or round. He's got time for all those options, basically. From going back to the astounding early mystical Indian texts, his mind is completely liberated. He's not going to be assaulting anyone for their perception tunnel, their reality tunnel. So without any further ado, I think what we'll do is we'll show the incentive plan and we'll end this week's program. And we have got some really fascinating interviews coming up. Now, don't listen entirely to the words of anyone, my wife, myself, even the incredible director, Alex Proyas. You know, I can't pronounce that properly.
That's okay.
Who said he had a problem with Forbidden Planet.
I don't know how, but anyway.
It's such a brilliant film.
I know.
Maybe
Just
you
enjoy
should
it.
try and remake that.
Exactly.
That's the one to come
Well,
after the Gods of
of Egypt.
Yeah.
Anyway.
Okay.
All right. We will be back next week with another podcast for you.
All right.
Goodbye.
Take good care. Bless you, Malcolm.
Bye.
Hey, Untold Radio Network fans. Want exclusive perks and to support our channel? Introducing our YouTube membership program with 3 amazing levels. Get loyalty badges that level up to different cryptids the longer you're a supporter. How cool is that? You'll also get access to custom Bigfoot emojis and priority in chat. Upgrade to Backstage Pass for exclusive wallpapers, photos, status updates, discounted books, and merchandise. Go all in with the producer level for everything mentioned plus member shoutouts. Ready for an enhanced experience? Join now, pick your membership level, and let's make this journey even more exciting together.
Oh my
there
God,
we go.
we
That
are
was
there.
quick.
And I said, let's appear
Let's
quickly.
appear,
You
and
said,
I'm like,
"Don't do
no,
that."
we'll go.
We really care about you all. This is a pre-record, but we will be live in the chat. Thank you so much for your time. Bless you all. Be safe.